Cracking views of a gossault there.
Well, from our nests to rivers, and I think most of us know that our rivers these days are polluted, mainly from sewage and agricultural runoff. But the cause of some of the pollution will probably come as a surprise to most of us. We sent vet and conservationist Sean McCormack to investigate.
Every living thing needs water, whether to live on, to drink, to eat from, or even to breathe. And our rivers supply that water to almost every corner of the country, supporting most of the wildlife that calls the UK home.
The problem is they're also full of pollutants, which our rivers are spreading to every corner of our nation.
I've been a vet for nearly 15 years, but recently my industry has been rocked by new research. The treatments we give pets to protect them from parasites are polluting rivers across the UK.
These are some standard flea and tick treatments you can buy in the supermarket or in the pet shop. These ones contain fipronil and this one imidacloprid. If you're a pet owner, you might have used one recently yourself. You just take the little spot-on treatment of liquid and put it on the skin on the back of your dog or cat's neck. Now, they are really potent by design. A single pipette will cover an entire animal for 28 days, killing any flea or tick it comes in contact with.
But it's not just ticks and fleas. They'll kill any insect. It's estimated that one drop can kill 25 million bees. And in water, these chemicals can travel over 3/4 of a mile down a river. Professor David Goulson from the University of Sussex has spent decades studying the impact pesticides are having on the UK's insects. And he's overseen several studies on flea treatment pesticides in the environment.
So how prevalent are they in our rivers nationwide?
When we looked at the data, 99% of English rivers contained fipronil. And 66% also contained imidacloprid. So there's two really potent insecticides swirling around into our rivers. But then when we looked carefully, we realised that there were rivers in Scotland and parts of North Wales, and the concentrations turning up are way higher than what are deemed to be acceptable for insect life. There are thousands of species of wild native aquatic insect in the UK, and all of them in England are basically bathed in a soup of neurotoxin from birth to death.
David and his team tested 98 dogs with spot-on treatments. 28 days later, the dogs still tested positive for the chemicals. The pesticides were also being found in wastewater after bathing them, and even from owners washing their own hands. Roughly half of all households in the UK own a pet. And surveys suggest a third of pet owners subscribe to year-round monthly flea treatments, meaning around 85 million treatments could be entering our rivers from households through our sewer system each year.
And I guess the bigger picture is that our insects are already under attack from all directions and in massive decline for various reasons.
It's pretty terrifying, you know, the data suggesting butterflies in the UK are down by about 50% since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So we know insects are suffering massive declines, and it's about 70% of all the species we have are some kind of insect or other. So anything that poses a threat to them is a threat to the whole ecosystem.
Criticism of pesticide use in farming and gardening led to several bans by 2018. These included fipronil and imidacloprid. But worryingly, they're still used in veterinary medicine. Testing data shows that from 2018 to January this year, these chemicals were found over 5,500 times across rivers in England. Today, I've joined the Riverwire Trust and their head of science, Dr Heather Stott, to survey for aquatic insects. Most rivers are more affected by these toxins downstream from wastewater treatment works. So today, we're starting our surveys upstream to see what a healthy river should look like.
We found no indication of imidacloprid or fipronil at this site. So yeah, we're quite happy that this is a pretty good site for high water quality, supporting a wide range of aquatic species. So we have a lot of flap-headed mayfly, and we have smaller mayfly. We've also got some cased caddis and caseless caddis.
Yeah.
we're pretty good here. And I think the diversity of organisms that we can see in front of us today really demonstrates that.
The diversity and the abundance as well.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot, isn't there? When testing for pesticides, Heather and the team looked at 30 sites along the river. Near urban areas, 75% contained fipronil and/or imidacloprid, and most of the sites below waste treatment waterworks contain these pesticides. We've travelled 500 metres downstream, so we're now below the wastewater treatment works to test one of these areas for aquatic life.
So we've got far fewer invertebrates in terms of total number than the last site. The difference is quite staggering. We've got a caseless caddis. We do have mayflies, but the number is far, far lower. All of these invertebrates are very sensitive to those neurotoxins.
Yeah.
So we do know it's a chronic problem.
It's kind of striking, the numbers difference, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like night and day.
Insects aren't the only animals impacted by pesticides. In 2013, a study in the Netherlands found bird life dropped 30% when these chemicals were found in the environment. This study is cited as proof they can kill off the base of the food chain.
Without the base of our food web, our vertebrate communities would cease to exist, and many of our plant species are relying on invertebrates.
Yeah.
So it would just be total ecosystem collapse if we lost invertebrates from the watercourse.
The government told us that while these pesticides protect both animal and human health, it does recognise the concerns with flea and tick treatments being detected in UK waters, and that it has set up an expert group to consider how we can best reduce the impacts of pharmaceuticals on the environment. The veterinary industry is also discussing the issue widely. The sale of flea treatments in the UK is worth around £700 million and seen as a vital part of pet care. Dr Anna Judson is the president of the British Veterinary Association, which represents the vet industry. We've been reliant, would you say, on kind of treating our pets every month of the year for parasites. Do you think that is necessary now, knowing this evidence?
Well, these are really valuable medicines that help prevent and treat parasites in animals. So they are valuable tools, but now there's new evidence coming out that some of them are having an impact in the environment. Well, our advice is that vets should take a risk-based, proportionate and targeted approach to their use. We can look at seasonal patterns of treatments. So I think in the winter, below certain temperatures, we know that ticks, for example, are less likely to be active. Also, whether an animal goes outside. A lot of cats live just inside the house these days. So use what's necessary, but not too much. And that way we can minimise the impact on the environment.
It's slightly mind-boggling, isn't it, to think that these, the few drops you can put on the neck of a dog be enough to end up significantly polluting rivers. A lot of the product that you apply to it ends up going down the drain. Essentially, we've polluted all of our rivers with these products that we thought we were, using for a good purpose on our dogs and cats.
I think we can all agree we've had some interesting, in fact fascinating films on this series of Springwatch, but that has to be surely the most important. Massive thanks to Dave Gawson. He's the absolute guru when it comes to pesticide and chemical pollution in the environment, but it leaves many of us with a dilemma. Look, I'm a dog owner. Here are Sid and Nancy. They are the epicentre of my universe, but I cannot continue to pollute the environment. They need tick treatment, otherwise they would catch diseases, Lyme's disease, but we've got to find an alternative here. Surely a different type of pharmaceutical which protects our dogs and doesn't harm the environment. We've got to do that immediately.
There's got to be something natural we can use, surely. Investigation needed. Let's cut to Megan.